China's buying stuff, lots of stuff. Not just your favorite takeout noodles, we're talking big stuff, like really big. Think ports, power plants, even pieces of the internet. Yep, China's been on a global shopping spree, and guess who's holding the for sale signs? Countries like the UK, that's who. Now, there's nothing wrong with a little international trade, but when one country starts owning vital parts of another country's infrastructure, well, that's when things get interesting. Especially when that country is China. So, how much of the UK does China actually own? And more importantly, should we be worried? Buckle up, because we're about to dive headfirst into the world of Chinese investment in the UK. Let's start with the big one, energy. Energy is the lifeblood of modern society, powering everything from our homes to our industries. Imagine flipping a light switch and not just taking for granted that the light will come on. Now imagine wondering if the power lighting up your room came from a plant part owned by China. It might sound far-fetched, but it's a reality in the UK. Well, in the UK, that's not just a hypothetical scenario. It's a real and present situation. China has its fingers in the UK's energy pie, especially when it comes to nuclear power. This involvement isn't just a minor stake, it's significant. They've got a piece of Hinkley Point C, a massive new nuclear power station being built in England. This project is one of the largest and most ambitious in the UK's recent history. We're talking billions of pounds of investment. This isn't just pocket change, it's a substantial financial commitment. And it's not just Hinkley. China's involvement extends beyond a single project. China's got its eye on other nuclear projects in the UK too. Their interest and investment are growing, and it's reshaping the landscape of the UK's energy sector. So, does this mean China can just turn off the lights whenever it wants? Not exactly. The situation is more complex than that. The UK still has a lot of control over its energy grid. The infrastructure and regulatory frameworks in place ensure that no single entity can have absolute control, but it does give China some serious leverage. This leverage can influence decisions and policies, especially in times of political or economic tension. And in a world increasingly hungry for energy, that leverage could be a powerful tool. As global energy demands rise, the stakes in these international partnerships become even higher. The interconnectedness of our energy systems means that international relationships and investments play a crucial role in how we power our lives. So, while the UK maintains control, the influence of Chinese investment is a factor that can't be ignored. It's a delicate balance of power and partnership. As we look to the future, the dynamics of energy control and international cooperation will continue to evolve. The question remains, how will these relationships shape the energy landscape of tomorrow? Next stop, transportation. Think about it. Airports, railways, ports, these are the arteries and veins of a country's economy. And China's been busy investing in these vital arteries in the UK. They've poured money into airports like Manchester and Heathrow, hoping to cash in on the UK's status as a global travel hub. And let's not forget about the railways. Chinese companies are involved in building new high-speed rail lines, promising faster journeys and economic growth. But hold on a minute, what happens if those trains are delayed? Or those airports get congested? Suddenly, China's investments start to look a lot less appealing. It's a delicate balancing act, folks, and one that requires careful consideration. Now let's talk tech, specifically telecommunications. Remember Huawei? That Chinese tech giant that everyone was freaking out about a few years ago? Well, they're still around, and they still want a piece of the UK's 5G network. The UK government initially gave Huawei the green light to help build parts of the network. But then, after pressure from the US and concerns about security risks, they backtracked. Now Huawei's role is limited, but it highlights a bigger issue: the influence of Chinese companies in sensitive areas like telecommunications. Can the UK trust Chinese companies with its data? It's a question with no easy answers, and one that's causing a lot of debate. Section 5. Why the UK, China's investment strategy explained. So, why is China so keen on investing in the UK? Well, for starters, the UK is seen as a gateway to Europe. It's a major economic power with a stable political system, relatively speaking, of course. And let's not forget about those sweet, sweet pounds sterling, but it's not just about money. China also wants to boost its own global standing. By investing in UK infrastructure, China gets to flex its economic muscles and show the world it's a major player on the global stage. Plus, let's be honest, the UK hasn't exactly been shy about accepting Chinese investment. In fact, they've rolled out the red carpet, eager to attract foreign capital. But is this eagerness coming back to bite them? Only time will tell. Section 6. A win-win, potential benefits for both sides. Now before we all start building bunkers in our backyards, let's talk about the potential upsides. Because, believe it or not, there are some. For the UK, Chinese investment means jobs, economic growth, and maybe even cheaper energy bills, fingers crossed. And for China, it's a chance to secure resources, expand its global influence, and learn from a country with a long history of economic and technological innovation. See, it's not all doom and gloom, but, and this is a big but, these benefits come with a whole lot of strings attached. Strings that could end up tying the UK in knots. So, let's talk about those risks, shall we? Section 7. Risky business, concerns and challenges. First up, there's the issue of national security. The UK has always been vigilant about protecting its critical infrastructure, but the increasing involvement of foreign entities, particularly from China, has raised eyebrows. Can the UK really afford to let China have so much control over its critical infrastructure? This isn't just about who builds our roads and bridges, it's about who controls the data and the technology that underpin our daily lives. What happens if relations between the two countries sour? Diplomatic tensions could escalate, leading to a situation where the UK might find itself vulnerable to external pressures. Could China use its investments as leverage? The possibility of economic blackmail is a real concern. If China decides to pull out its investments or impose restrictions, the UK could face significant economic disruptions. These are questions that keep security experts up at night. The potential for espionage and cyber attacks increases with foreign control over critical infrastructure. Then there's the economic side of things. The influx of Chinese capital can stimulate the economy, but it also comes with strings attached. Sure, Chinese investment can create jobs, however, these jobs are often in sectors that may not offer long-term stability or growth opportunities for the local workforce. But what about the quality of those jobs? Are they well-paying and secure, or are they temporary and low-wage positions that don't offer much in terms of career advancement? And what about the long-term impact on UK businesses? Small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, could find it increasingly difficult to compete with larger Chinese-backed companies. Will they be able to compete with Chinese companies that often have the backing of the Chinese government? The competitive landscape could shift dramatically, making it harder for local businesses to survive. And let's not forget about China's human rights record. The international community has repeatedly criticized China for its actions in Xinjiang and Hong Kong. Can the UK, a country that prides itself on its commitment to human rights, turn a blind eye to China's actions in places like Xinjiang and Hong Kong? This raises ethical questions that are hard to ignore. It's a moral dilemma with no easy answers. Balancing economic benefits with ethical considerations is a tightrope walk that the UK must navigate carefully. The stakes are high, and the decisions made today will shape the future of the nation. Section 8. The Balancing Act, Maintaining UK Interests. In today's interconnected world, the UK finds itself walking a tightrope, balancing its economic ambitions with its national security and ethical commitments. So, what's the solution? Well, it's a tricky one. The UK must navigate a complex landscape where economic prosperity and ethical governance often seem at odds. The UK needs to find a way to balance its economic interests with its national security concerns and its commitment to human rights. This balancing act requires careful consideration and strategic planning. It's a delicate dance, and one wrong step could have serious consequences. The stakes are high, and the margin for error is slim. Some argue that the UK needs to be more selective about the investments it accepts from China. They believe that a more discerning approach could mitigate potential risks. They say the UK should focus on attracting investment in areas that don't pose a threat to national security, like renewable energy or technology. These sectors not only promise economic growth, but also align with the UK's long-term strategic goals. Others say that the UK needs to work more closely with its allies to present a united front against China's growing economic and geopolitical influence. This collaborative approach could enhance the UK's negotiating power and safeguard its interests. They argue that by working together, the UK and its allies can better protect their interests and values. A united front could serve as a formidable counterbalance to China's ambitions, ensuring that the principles of democracy and human rights are upheld on the global stage. Ultimately, the path forward requires a nuanced approach, blending economic pragmatism with ethical considerations. The UK's ability to maintain its interests will depend on its agility and foresight in navigating this complex geopolitical landscape. As the world watches, the UK must demonstrate that it can uphold its values while pursuing prosperity. This balancing act is not just about economic gains, but about securing a future where national security, human rights and economic interests coexist harmoniously. The journey ahead is fraught with challenges, but with careful planning and strategic alliances, the UK can navigate these turbulent waters and emerge stronger, safeguarding its interests for generations to come. Section 9, The Future of UK-China Relations, a Delicate Dance. The future of UK-China relations is uncertain. Will the UK continue to welcome Chinese investment with open arms, or will it start to prioritize other considerations like national security and human rights? One thing's for sure, the decisions the UK makes in the coming years will have far-reaching consequences, not just for the UK, but for the global balance of power. So buckle up, folks, because it's going to be a bumpy ride. And that's the end of our whirlwind tour of Chinese investment in the UK. Remember, folks, just because you can buy something doesn't mean you should, especially when it comes to something as important as a country's vital infrastructure.